For instance, the ancient yogis and Buddhist monks have long placed a premium on the power of a single word of observation. To truly observe anything, we must give it our whole focus and attention. This suggests that any quantum event may be manifested in our life with enough focused concentration. In this video, I explain how you may direct your focus to manifest the world you envision. Because as a co-creator, you may have the greatest impact by learning to focus your attention. The time to begin is now. Let's examine how the focus of our thoughts determines the world that materializes. This, however, requires knowledge of energy dynamics. When you're feeling like you're on a merry-go-round with the same relationships in life, it's because you're attracting the same people into your life. Identifying points of energy stagnation is crucial. Energy gets stagnant when it is prevented from moving in the directions it needs to go. When it reaches a standstill, we face the same problems. So what exactly controls the movement of energy? Attention. Energy moves to where it is focused. Wherever we direct our attention, that's where the power goes. Most individuals are unaware that polar and non-polar attention are the two primary forms of mental focus. Reality may be attracted to or repelled by your attention's polarity. When flipped on its head, every problem has an answer. Dual aspects of the same thing. This is the effect of polar attention. It's like a magnet, drawing in one item while pushing another away. Let's get into this topic a little deeper. Non-polar attention, in contrast to polar attention, is agnostic and capable of dissolving physical reality. Let's consider what this would signify for the everyday impact of quantum phenomena. Let's pretend there are two extreme forms of focus, positive and negative. When we focus our good energy on something, the world around us doesn't question the sincerity of our intentions. What matters to it is the substance. I warned in the last video that harboring resentment toward an object or person might cause them to manifest in our lives. In a similar vein, we tend to get more of what we focus on. For us humans, here is where the rubber meets the road. As a species, we are hardwired from birth to respond to danger and threats by prioritizing our own survival. We've been trained to prioritize survival above all else. But how can we ensure that we have the best chance of doing so? Getting rid of or avoiding everything that might endanger our survival. And so we've learned to always put ourselves first, to avoid harm and danger at all costs. Because of this upbringing, many of us have taken on these characteristics. More and more of our fears are being realized. It's important to consider the sources of the widespread anxiety reported in the media and shared on social media. This is how we may be manipulated and influenced by external factors. Many individuals will risk their lives in battle to defend their honor and the things they hold dear. While respectable, this trait frequently causes individuals to miss the forest for the trees, since anger makes it simple to manipulate people into doing what you want them to. When someone is scared, you may easily manipulate them into doing what you want. So society traps us in states of fear, rage, and pride, where we focus on what motivates us to act in ways we don't necessarily approve of. Most people's romantic lives consist of repeating the same patterns over and over again, as a result of clinging to painful memories from the past. Because they are so preoccupied with not getting back together with their ex, they keep attracting the same kind of relationship and partner. The vast majority of people who experience trauma worry that they haven't dealt with it properly. Non-biased or apolitical focus is useful in this situation. But that's a topic for later. The difference between positive and negative attention is crucial to grasp at the moment. The only thing that matters in this life is the focus of our attention. If this is our current reality, then we have come to a crossroads in our lives. In the workplace, this might be an issue with a coworker or an employee, but it could also be anything else. The things we choose to focus on favorably include the idea that we may learn and develop As a result of this experience, we have the ability to triumph over adversity and emerge stronger for it. In this scenario, we are drawing to ourselves the forces and circumstances that are consistent with our optimistic outlook. But if we focus our attention on the worst possible aspects of the circumstance, we will be in for a world of hurt. This is beyond my comprehension. If we assume the worst and act as if there is no hope, we will bring about circumstances that are consistent with that prediction. To put it simply, life doesn't care if we focus on the good or the bad. It reacts to what we're paying attention to. In other words, the lifeline will change to a more optimistic one if we believe that this will help us develop in some manner. What we focus on expands, so we get more of what we want. On the other hand, if we have a terrible attitude about something and believe that it will bring about bad results, then we may expect awful results. Take note of the current situation. The mind automatically interprets information as positive if the reader is in a good mood. When we're in a bad mood, our minds automatically interpret everything we read as bad. How can you determine that a certain circumstance is undesirable? You're making that assumption out of pure panic. When you're afraid, you tend to worry even more. When we're afraid of something, for example, we could try to rationalize our anxiety by considering other threats. The question is why? We as sentient beings have emotions. When we experience emotion, we know that we are still alive. Our biological makeup is like this. When we're anxious, our minds race with all the worst scenarios that may unfold. That's when things start to spin out of control, because now the focus of our attention is being skewed in a bad direction. The crux of the matter is that emotional experiences should line up with rational considerations. When you're having a bad day because of how you feel inside, your mind automatically starts thinking negatively, which then brings about more of the same. You're now at the section of your lifeline when bad things keep happening. Non-polar apolitical focus, however, is what really matters. When we give an event little thought, it becomes a part of our life and then disappears. It cannot harm us in any way. You may stare at a bad circumstance square in the eye and choose to accept it. There is zero enthusiasm or disapproval for it. The course of your life would remain unchanged. In all honesty, nothing would alter. The problem would vanish on its own. Most individuals fight off their worries and traumas from the past by dwelling on them. Consider the mechanism at work here. The overwhelming emotions we experience while remembering traumatic events in the past make us want to avoid thinking about or talking about them. When we flee, we're essentially trying to fight against it. And if you try to fight it, guess what? It keeps coming back. You're giving it power, and it's pushing back against you. We operate from a position of trauma because we spend our entire lives fighting against the things that occurred to us in the past that we don't like. As a result, repeated occurrences keep cropping up to reaffirm the trauma. Keep in mind that every argument has an opposing side. You decide. Your interpretation of an event is entirely up to you. We can go on to discussing applications now that you have a basic grasp. First, we must integrate polar and nonpolar attention in order to properly build reality. This is really important, so please read on. It may be used in 3 basic ways. If you follow it, you'll free up all the power you were giving to the bad thoughts and feelings that were draining your vitality. Discuss the operation of this system. Acceptance is the first step. When we hit rock bottom, when everything seems hopeless, we must acknowledge that this is where we are. We lose the ability to remain resistant once we accept anything. You can't maintain an attitude of resistance while still accepting something. The cure for being unyielding is to be accepting. So please make an effort to grasp this. We are not building up reserves of energy. The only effort being made is a diversion, an attempt to avoid the obstacle. Your aspirations eagerly desire to materialize. Simply said, you're not needed. You need just make room for them to materialize. The first step is complete acceptance of the present circumstance. Imagine that this has happened to you in the midst of your current difficulties, rut, or worst nightmare. You accept it without reservation, and you can already see that life will move on anyway. The thing you feared most is no longer a concern. You're free from its specter now. This is groundbreaking information, because many worry that if they prepare for the worst-case situation, they will somehow bring it about. Not at all. The opposite is true. If you give up to the worst-case scenario, you take the power out of its hands. You are just increasing the likelihood of it happening if you keep fighting it. However, the role of neutral attention is played if one just accepts the situation and moves on. A lack of judgment characterizes acceptance. Acceptance is the first step toward transformation in every aspect of our lives. Complete and total assimilation into the here and now. No matter how hard we try, we can't alter the here and now, since it is always evolving. By the time you try to understand it, it will be history. Nothing can be done to alter the present. The next moment belongs to you, and you have the power to decide what you want out of it. We have a bad habit of convincing ourselves that if anything bad occurs, we must have done something wrong. Attachment and identification with actions lead us to imagine the worst and come to terms with it. By doing so, you devalue everything. The next stage is to see how you can turn this obstacle or bad luck into a good thing. A neutral occurrence is one that occurs. It's up to you to focus on the good, bad, or neutral aspects of the situation. We may reframe the situation from "this is bad" to "how can this possibly be an advantage? When will this be beneficial to me?" Let me explain what I mean by a blessing in disguise. Sometimes, things happen for our own good. Perhaps God or the cosmos knows that we would be better off without experiencing the potential negative consequences of that circumstance. Perhaps there was a cause for this to occur. Do you ever think that maybe everything that happens to you has a purpose? The universe is attempting to keep you safe by ensuring that an accident or other negative event did not occur on the bus if you had made it there. What evidence do you have that acceptance makes it simpler to achieve this? Don't expect yourself to find good fortune where there seems to be none if you're still reeling from a recent tragedy. Simply accept it as a fact and acknowledge the reality of the situation. Once you've calmed down, you might start to see the positive aspects of the situation. The last stage is to keep focusing on that which is wanted. If I can achieve a state of perfect calm and acceptance, I'll be able to focus solely on making the decisions that will bring me the most happiness. When you master this skill, there is nothing that can stop you. You are unstoppable. Which quantum event appears in your life and which one you experience are both determined by this procedure. It's all a matter of where you put your focus. For good reason, many faiths and civilizations of the past emphasize the importance of being attentive, aware, and in a state of observation. Here, we'll be using both together. To achieve acceptance, we first employ non-polar attention. There's no good or bad news here. As for us, we have come to terms with the fact that it did. Then, we shift gears and consider any hidden benefits that may have resulted from the situation. This method is among the most potent we possess for bringing about our ideal world when we are calm and collected. Your attention is the most potent instrument at your disposal as a co-creator of reality. When you master its use, you can create anything you desire in your life. The takeaway lesson I hope to leave with you today is this: it's okay to feel horrible about yourself today. Once you've achieved a calm state of mind, you'll be able to shift your attention to what you want. But if you try to deny or ignore your emotions, they will find you in the end. Anything you're doing right now is a kind of resistance. Even if you're only speaking affirmations to yourself in the mirror, you may be avoiding unpleasant emotions by doing so. If you consistently use these 3 steps, your life can be transformed. Learning to let go of resistance and instead accept, divert, and actively select what is wanted is a powerful practice. You are focusing your energy where it will do the most good to bring about the life you want. Keep in mind that accepting something does not mean giving up, but rather acknowledging the truth of the situation. When we allow ourselves to settle into this place of acceptance, the path forward toward our goals becomes more distinct. Accepting the worst-case situation frees up resources that would have been spent resisting it. The focus of our awareness then becomes the impetus for transformation. When we put our attention where it belongs, the world around us shifts to accommodate us. Since we help to create our world, we get to determine our own trajectories, experiences, and ultimate fates. Focusing on what's most important to us is the first step toward genuine change. You are the creator of your own future. Therefore, forge forth with assurance and resolve. I hope this video enriches your life. Please subscribe and like this video if you found it useful. Thanks for watching to the end. Until next time, be happy.